When I found the custom jewelry box I'd spent 3 months designing for my mother's 60th birthday sitting in her kitchen trash can, still in its silk wrapping, I didn't say a word. I just quietly walked to my car, pulled out my phone, and canceled the surprise renovation I'd been planning for her house. The next morning, when the contractors didn't show up and her calls started flooding my phone, I finally understood what real boundaries looked like. Let me explain how we got here. I should have seen it coming. Honestly, if you told me 6 months ago that I'd be sitting in my apartment at 2 a.m., methodically going through legal documents to remove my mother's name from everything we'd ever shared, I would have called you crazy. But that's exactly where I found myself after what happened at her birthday dinner in Millfield Heights. My name is Elena Rodriguez. I'm 33, and up until recently, I thought I had the kind of relationship with my mom that other people envied. We talked every day, sometimes twice. I helped her with everything: groceries, doctor's appointments, home repairs, insurance paperwork, even organizing her medication schedule. When she casually mentioned one evening while we were having coffee that she'd love to update her outdated kitchen someday, I secretly started planning a complete renovation as her 60th birthday surprise. I'd been thinking about it for weeks before I finally took action. My mother, Carmen, had been living in the same modest 3-bedroom house in Oakwood Valley for 22 years. It was the house she'd bought after my father, Antonio, walked out on us when I was 11 and my younger brother, Diego, was only 8. She'd worked double shifts as a nurse at Riverside Medical Center to keep that house, to make sure Diego and I had stability, a place to call home even when everything else felt uncertain. The kitchen was a time capsule from the early 2000s. Laminate countertops that had seen better days, cabinets with handles that came loose every few months, and appliances that made concerning noises but somehow kept working. Every time I visited, which was at least 3 times a week, I'd notice another small problem. The faucet dripped constantly, the dishwasher left spots on everything, the overhead light flickered whenever someone walked too heavily across the floor above. But my mom never complained, not once. She'd just work around whatever wasn't functioning properly, the way she'd learned to work around every other challenge life had thrown at her. That's who Carmen Rodriguez was. She made things work, no matter what. 3 months before her 60th birthday, I'd finally gotten the promotion I'd been working toward for 2 years: Senior Marketing Director at Pinnacle Creative Solutions based in downtown Millfield Heights. The salary increase was substantial, an extra $28,000 a year, and for the first time since graduating college, I felt financially secure enough to do something really meaningful for the woman who'd sacrificed everything for Diego and me. I started researching kitchen renovation companies during my lunch breaks. I drove through different neighborhoods on weekends, taking pictures of kitchen designs I thought my mom might love. I spent hours on Pinterest creating boards with different color schemes and layout options. I even subscribed to 3 home improvement magazines and started dog-earing pages with ideas. The more I researched, the more excited I became. This wasn't just going to be a gift, it was going to be a transformation. I wanted to give my mother a space that reflected everything she deserved: beauty, functionality, comfort, pride. A kitchen where she could host family dinners without apologizing for the cramped space or the mismatched dishes. A place where she could feel genuinely proud when her friends from the hospital came over for their monthly book club meetings. I found a design company called Heritage Home Solutions that specialized in complete kitchen makeovers. Their portfolio was exactly what I'd been envisioning: warm, inviting spaces that felt both modern and timeless. I scheduled a consultation and explained my vision to their lead designer, a woman named Patricia Winters, who immediately understood what I was trying to accomplish. Patricia came out to my mom's house while she was at work, using the spare key I'd had for years. She measured everything, took photos, and made notes about the structural possibilities. When she sent me the initial design proposal 2 weeks later, I actually teared up looking at the renderings. Custom oak cabinets with soft-closed drawers, granite countertops in a warm gray tone that would complement my mom's existing dining room furniture, a large island with seating for 4, new stainless steel appliances, including the double oven my mom had always talked about wanting, updated lighting that would make the whole space feel bigger and brighter. The quote was $47,000. It was more than I'd initially budgeted. But as I sat in my apartment looking at those beautiful design renderings, I knew it was worth every penny. My mom had spent 30 years putting Diego and me first. Now it was time for someone to put her first. I signed the contract the next day and put down a $15,000 deposit. The plan was to start the renovation the week after her birthday, giving me time to coordinate the surprise reveal and help her pack up the kitchen items she'd want to keep. Patricia assured me the whole project would be completed in 3 weeks, just in time for Carmen's annual Christmas party she hosted for her coworkers. But I knew the renovation itself wasn't enough. I wanted to give her something personal first, something tangible she could hold and keep forever that would represent this milestone birthday and all the love I felt for her. That's when I got the idea for the jewelry box.
My mom had always been sentimental about jewelry, especially pieces that had belonged to her mother, my abuela Sofia. She kept everything in an old ceramic dish on her dresser, her wedding ring from my father, which she'd never thrown away despite everything, various earrings and necklaces she'd collected over the years, and most importantly, a delicate silver locket that had been abuela Sofia's most treasured possession. I'd seen her handle that locket countless times, opening it to look at the tiny photo of her parents inside, always with this soft expression on her face. She deserved something beautiful to keep these treasures in, something that acknowledged their importance and her own worth. I spent 2 weeks researching artisans before I found exactly what I was looking for. Miriam Castillo ran a small woodworking studio called Heirloom Artistry in the Arts District of nearby Belmont City. Her website showcased the most beautiful custom jewelry boxes I'd ever seen, each one unique, each one clearly crafted with incredible attention to detail and genuine artistry. I drove out to Belmont City on a Saturday morning to meet Miriam in person. Her studio was tucked into a converted warehouse filled with the rich scent of different woods and the soft sounds of classical music playing in the background. Miriam herself was probably in her 50s, with silver-streaked hair and hands that showed the evidence of decades working with wood and tools. I explained what I wanted, a jewelry box that would reflect my mother's strength, elegance, and the deep family connections that meant everything to her. Miriam listened carefully, asking questions about my mom's style, her favorite colors, the types of jewelry she owned. When I mentioned abuela Sofia's locket and how much it meant to my mother, Miriam's eyes lit up. "I have the perfect idea," she said, leading me over to a workbench where several pieces were in various stages of completion. "What if we create something that honors both your mother and your grandmother? Something that connects the generations?" Her vision was perfect. A jewelry box made from rich cherry wood with compartments sized specifically for the pieces I described. The lid would feature an inlaid design using mother of pearl, a tree with delicate branches reaching upward, representing the family tree and how our roots support our growth. My mother's initials, CMR, would be elegantly carved into a small brass nameplate on the front. Inside, the main compartment would be lined with deep burgundy velvet, my mom's favorite color, and there would be a special small compartment with a tiny silver frame sized perfectly for the photo from abuela Sofia's locket. The whole piece would be designed to last for generations, something my mom could eventually pass down to her own daughter or granddaughter someday. Miriam quoted me $850 for the project, with a timeline of 6 weeks to complete it. I paid her half up front and left feeling more excited than I'd felt about anything in months. This was going to be perfect. Over the next 6 weeks, Miriam sent me progress photos. I watched the jewelry box come to life, piece by piece, the wood being carefully selected and shaped, the mother of pearl inlay being meticulously fitted, the brass nameplate being engraved with my mother's initials. Each update made me more confident that I'd chosen exactly the right gift. When I finally picked up the completed jewelry box 2 days before my mom's birthday, it was even more beautiful than I had imagined. The cherry wood had a warm, rich glow that seemed to radiate from within. The mother of pearl tree design caught the light and seemed to shimmer with different colors, depending on how you looked at it. When I opened the lid, a soft melody played, Cielito Lindo, the same song my abuela Sofia used to hum while cooking Sunday dinner. I'd also written a letter to go with the gift, explaining every detail of its creation and what it represented. I wanted my mom to understand that this wasn't just a jewelry box. It was a tangible symbol of how much her strength and sacrifice had meant to Diego and me, and how proud I was to be her daughter. The birthday dinner was planned for the following Saturday night. I'd made reservations at El Jardín Secreto, an upscale Mexican restaurant in downtown Millfield Heights that had recently opened to rave reviews. It was the kind of place my mom had never been to, not because she wouldn't have loved it, but because she'd never been the type to spend money on herself for something she'd consider frivolous. I picked my mom up from her house at 6 p.m., telling her we were just going to dinner, but not revealing the specific restaurant or the fact that Diego and Isabella would be there. She dressed up in her favorite navy blue dress and had definitely taken extra time with her hair and makeup. She looked beautiful, and I felt this swell of love and pride as we drove downtown. "You didn't have to do all this, mija," she said as I pulled into the valet parking area at El Jardín Secreto. "I know you would have been happy with dinner at home, Mom, but sometimes we need to celebrate the important things properly." The surprise on her face when she saw Diego and Isabella waiting at our table was worth every penny I'd spent on the evening. She actually gasped and covered her mouth with her hands, and I saw tears forming in her eyes as Diego stood up to give her a huge hug. "Como? When did you plan this?" she kept asking, looking back and forth between all of us as if she couldn't quite believe we were all there together. The dinner itself was perfect. We ordered way too much food, shared stories and inside jokes, and I watched my mom laugh harder than I'd seen her laugh in months. Diego regaled us with stories from his new job, Isabella showed us photos from her recent trip to Costa Rica, and my mom talked about some of the interesting cases she'd encountered at the hospital recently. As we were finishing our main courses, I decided it was time for the gift presentation. I'd been carrying the jewelry box in a special gift bag under the table, and I was practically vibrating with excitement. "Mom, before we order dessert, I have something for you," I said, reaching down to retrieve the bag. I'd spent hours wrapping the jewelry box in layers of tissue paper, using colors that coordinated with the burgundy velvet interior. I had tied it with a silk ribbon that matched the mother-of-pearl inlay, and I'd attached the letter I'd written in an envelope marked, "Read this first." "Elena, you already did so much by planning this dinner," my mom said, but I could see the curiosity in her eyes as she accepted the gift bag. "Just open it, Mom, please." I watched her face carefully as she pulled away the tissue paper layers and revealed the wooden jewelry box. I waited for the moment of recognition, for her to see the mother-of-pearl tree design and understand what it represented. I waited for her to notice her initials on the brass nameplate and realize how much thought had gone into every detail. Instead, she looked at it for maybe 15 seconds, turned it over once in her hands, and said, "Oh, how nice. Thank you, mija." Then she set it down on the table next to her water glass and immediately turned to Isabella to ask about her new apartment in Clearwater Springs. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. This was it. This was her reaction to something I'd spent weeks planning, something that had been custom crafted specifically for her by a master artisan. I waited for her to pick it up again, to examine it more closely, to open it and see the burgundy velvet interior or hear the music box melody. I waited for her to ask about the mother-of-pearl design or notice her initials on the nameplate. But she never picked it up again. The conversation moved on to Isabella's job, Diego's dating life, plans for the upcoming holidays. The jewelry box sat there on the table like any other random object, completely forgotten. I tried to rejoin the conversation, to act normal and engaged, but I felt hollow inside. How is it possible that something I'd put so much love and effort into could be dismissed so casually? Did she not realize it was custom made? Had she not bothered to really look at it? When the waiter came to clear our plates, my mom casually moved the jewelry box aside so he could reach her dishes better. She still hadn't opened the envelope with the letter explaining its significance. After dinner, I followed everyone back to my mom's house in Oakwood Valley. Diego and Isabella were planning to stay for a while to visit more, and I figured maybe in the quieter environment at home, my mom would take the time to really examine the gift properly.
But when we got to her house, she immediately started making coffee and pulling out photo albums to show Diego and Isabella. The jewelry box disappeared into the kitchen, and I assumed she'd set it aside somewhere safe to look out later. As the evening wound down, I offered to help clean up while Diego and Isabella said their goodbyes. It was just past 10 p.m., and I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. I had wanted this to be such a special night, and while the dinner itself had been lovely, I couldn't shake the disappointment over her reaction to the gift. "Let me take the trash out for you, Mom," I said, gathering up the coffee cups and napkins from our impromptu photo viewing session. "You don't have to do that, Elena. You've done enough today." "It's fine. I'm already cleaning up anyway." I walked into the kitchen, tied up the garbage bag that was sitting in the trash can under the sink, and lifted it out to carry to the outside bins. As I was tying the replacement bag into the can, something caught my eye. Sitting right there on top of the garbage, in the kitchen trash can, was my custom jewelry box, still wrapped in the silk tissue paper I'd chosen so carefully. The envelope with my letter was there too, unopened. I stared at it for a long moment, trying to process what I was seeing. This couldn't be right. Maybe it had fallen in accidentally when she was cleaning up. Maybe she'd set it down near the trash can and it had somehow gotten knocked in. But no, it was placed too deliberately on top of the other garbage. And the tissue paper wasn't even disturbed. She had taken the jewelry box out of the gift bag, looked at it briefly at the restaurant, brought it home, and then thrown the entire thing away without even opening it to see what was inside.
Without a word, I pulled the jewelry box out of the trash, along with the unopened letter. I walked quietly through the living room where my mom was still talking with Diego and Isabella, grabbed my purse and keys, and headed toward the front door. "Elena, where are you going, mija?" my mom called after me. I turned around and looked at her, really looked at her. This woman I'd been supporting emotionally and financially for years. The woman I'd been planning to surprise with a $47,000 kitchen renovation, the woman who'd just thrown away a custom-made gift without even bothering to really look at it. "I'm going home," I said calmly. "Thanks for a lovely dinner." And I walked out. The drive back to my apartment took 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. I kept replaying the moment over and over in my mind. The casual way she'd set the jewelry box aside at the restaurant, the dismissive, "how nice" comment, and most of all, finding it in her kitchen trash can like it was nothing more than an empty food container. When I got home, I sat on my couch and finally opened the jewelry box myself. The melody of Cielito Lindo filled my quiet apartment as I examined every detail Miriam had crafted so lovingly. The mother-of-pearl tree design was even more beautiful in the soft lamplight of my living room. The burgundy velvet interior was perfect, and the special compartment for Abuela Sofia's locket photo was exactly as I'd envisioned. I opened the envelope with my letter and read my own words about family, love, heritage, and gratitude. Words my mother would never see because she'd thrown them away without even bothering to open the envelope. That's when I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Patricia Winter's contact information at Heritage Home Solutions. "Hi, Patricia. This is Elena Rodriguez. I need to cancel the kitchen renovation project we discussed. Yes, all of it. I'll forfeit the deposit. That's fine. Thank you." One phone call, 15 seconds, $47,000 worth of custom cabinetry, granite countertops, and new appliances gone. And for the first time all day, I felt like I could breathe properly. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my living room until dawn with the custom jewelry box open on my coffee table, Cielito Lindo playing softly on repeat. Every time the melody ended and started again, I felt more clarity seeping into my mind. By 6 a.m., I'd made a decision that would have seemed impossible just 24 hours earlier. I was done. The first call came at 7:23 a.m. My mom's contact photo lit up my phone screen, a picture from last Christmas when I still believed our relationship was worth celebrating. I let it ring. She called again at 7:31, then 7:45, then 8:12. By 9 a.m., she'd left 3 voicemails. "Mija, call me back. Something's wrong with the renovation company." And, "Elena, they said you canceled everything. Please call me."
I opened my laptop and began the most liberating morning of my adult life. I logged into my bank account and reviewed every automatic payment I'd set up over the years to help my mother. The list was staggering. Monthly payment to Sunrise Insurance for her health coverage, $340. Monthly payment to Martinez Lawn Care, $180. Biweekly Valley Grocery Delivery, $220 average. Her credit card minimum payment, $850. Quarterly tax services, $400. Annual AAA membership, $125. Annual homeowners insurance, $1,850. Streaming services, $33.98 monthly. Over $3,200 every month. Nearly $40,000 a year. I'd been quietly subsidizing her life, and she'd just thrown away an $850 custom gift like it was trash. One by one, I canceled everything. Each cancellation felt like removing a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. By noon, my mother's lifestyle was officially her own responsibility again. My phone had been buzzing constantly. I finally listened to the voicemails to understand the chaos unfolding on her end. First voicemail: Elena, mi amor, I'm so confused. Patricia called and said you canceled the whole project. There must be some mistake. Second: Mija, if I seemed distracted at dinner, I'm sorry, but this thing with the renovation, I need to understand what's happening. Third: Elena Rodriguez, you call me back right now. My insurance payment was declined, and my credit card company called. What is going on? This isn't funny. Fourth: I don't know what game you're playing, but this stops now. I am your mother. Fix this immediately, or we're going to have a serious problem. The progression from confusion to anger told me everything. She'd gone from sweet endearments to full-blown demands in 5 hours. Instead of calling back, I drove to Belmont City to visit Miriam Castillo at Heirloom Artistry. Elena, how did your mother like the jewelry box? Miriam asked warmly. She threw it away, I said simply, never even opened it to see the inside. Miriam's face fell. I explained what had happened, the casual dismissal at dinner, finding it in the trash can, still wrapped. I showed her the jewelry box, pristine and undamaged. This is one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever created, Miriam said quietly. 6 weeks of work, custom everything, and she just threw it away? Miriam studied the jewelry box with reverence my mother should have shown. You know what I think? This piece was never really for her. It was for you, to learn something about yourself and what you're worth. Her words hit like a revelation. The jewelry box had served its purpose perfectly. It had shown me exactly how little my efforts meant to my mother, and more importantly, that I deserved better. Keep it, Miriam said, or give it to someone who will appreciate the love that went into creating it.
I drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. 17 missed calls and 12 unread texts, but I felt no urgency to respond. For the first time in my adult life, my mother's crisis was not automatically my emergency. That evening, my cousin Isabella called. Elena, what's going on? Your mom called crying, saying you've lost your mind and cut off all her payments. Did she tell you what happened at dinner? She said you gave her a gift and got upset that she didn't react how you wanted. I almost laughed. Isabella, I spent 3 months and $850 having a custom jewelry box made for her 60th birthday. She looked at it for 10 seconds, said, "How nice," and threw it in the trash without even opening it. Silence. She threw away a custom gift? Still wrapped, never even read the letter explaining what it meant. That's really cruel. And the renovation I canceled? I was planning to spend $47,000 of my own money to redo her kitchen. For someone who threw away an $850 gift like garbage? Isabella's voice was much quieter now. I had no idea it was that serious. I told her about all the monthly payments I'd been covering. She never mentioned I was basically supporting her entire lifestyle. What are you going to do now? Nothing, I said, and the word felt powerful. She's a 60-year-old adult with a full-time job. She can handle her own responsibilities. She's really scared, Elena. Good.
Maybe being scared will help her understand how it felt to find something I'd poured my heart into sitting in her trash can. After hanging up, I felt familiar guilt trying to creep in. This was the moment I would normally cave, call, and apologize and fix everything. But then I looked at the jewelry box on my counter and remembered Miriam's words. This piece had taught me about my own worth, and I was finally ready to listen. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Fine. If this is how you want to be, then I guess I know where I stand. Don't expect me to come crawling back when you realize what you've lost." I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. She was right about one thing. Now I did know where I stood. I stood in my own apartment, financially independent, emotionally free, with a beautiful piece of art that would remind me daily that I deserve to be valued. The irony wasn't lost on me. My mother had given me the greatest gift of all, just not how she'd intended. By throwing away something made with love, she'd thrown away the last of my willingness to accept being treated as less than I was worth. 3 months later, I wake up naturally each morning. No crisis calls, no urgent problems to solve. My work performance improved dramatically without the constant stress of managing someone else's life. I've reconnected with old friends, started dating again, even took a pottery class. The custom jewelry box sits on my dresser now, holding the few pieces of jewelry that actually matter to me. Every morning when I see it, I'm reminded that I finally learned the most important lesson of all. You can't make someone value you by giving them more of yourself to throw away. My mother and I haven't spoken since that night. Sometimes I wonder if she misses me or if she just misses my credit card. But I've stopped caring about the answer. Some gifts teach you about the person receiving them. Others teach you about yourself. This one taught me I was worth more than I had ever allowed myself to believe. And that was the most valuable gift of all.